Watcher, only me. Short video today on staircase repairs. I've got a timber staircase and one of the spindles is broken, also known as a baluster. Let me take you inside and I'll show you the offending item. Okay, so this is my staircase. When we moved into the house, it was just a panel, white panel staircase, plywood, and it was ugly and it stopped all the light getting in. We've replaced the spindle, replaced the staircase with timber spindles and handrails, and just, I don't know what these are called, finials are they? Hand grips. But the problem is when you come here, you can see that someone, probably one of the kids, broke this, so I need to replace it. So when you undertake a staircase refurbishment and you replace plywood sheets with spindles, etc., I advise you always to buy more than you need. Work out however many you need. Bearing in mind that the space here can be no more than 99mm as per building regulations in the UK, because it's stated that a sphere of 100mm, which is said to be the size of a baby's head, cannot go through this gap. So if you can get a 100mm sphere, it's too big, so the maximum you want this is 99mm. You're going to make mistakes, and you're also going to want a few left for breakages. I've probably had these in my workshop for about 10 years, so they're going to be a different colour. There's probably some water stains on there, and there's probably a few cobwebs, etc., and bits and pieces, but it's nothing that little 5 minutes with a bit of sandpaper can't sort out. What I have is a very simple situation, is that I can just take one of these, take this out, pop it out, and cut it to size. Okay, now we have our broken spindle here, and we have the one we're going to replace it with here. You can clearly see that this section at the back, as I was talking about before, is longer at 285mm than the section on here. Now this is generally the top section, which is 230, the bottom section 285. An easy way to replace spindles is to take the spindle that you need to, your existing spindle I should say, and make sure you marry up the shoulders exactly here. Now if you make sure that these shoulders are married up and that we're flush here, yeah, you can use a square, but your fingers are just as good. A mark here of a pencil, you have a line on there with the exact angle that you need to cut. And if we turn it around and we turn this one around as well, once again marrying up the shoulders here and making sure these are flush, shoulders married up here, mark another pencil mark here, and we have a mark here and a mark here, which will give us our two cuts to make sure that our spindle is cut exactly to the right length, dimension and angle. Of course, there may be times when you don't have a old damaged spindle to take your measurements off of, and you need to work out what this angle is yourself. In these situations, what you need to get yourself is a sliding bevel. What you would do, just turn this round here, take your sliding bevel, put the iron, I guess you'd call it, up against your spindle, and the handle against your base rail. Hold it in position and tighten your nut. I've got a wing nut here on the other side, see, there's a little wing nut. So tighten that in, make sure that there's no gaps. Now I've got that fairly flush there, at the bottom at the top, and I can feel it's flush on the base rail as well. Now I know that that angle there should be the same as what we've got on our spindle in the workshop. So let's just go and check that, shall we? This is the sliding bevel we took earlier, the angle that we took off of the staircase. This is the angle we took off of the existing spindle. Now let's offer this up, shall we? If we put this sliding bevel there, we can see that we're almost in the same angle. I'm going to cut this section off, so I'll make a mark further up so you can compare. I'll ignore the first mark. As you can see there, those two angles are almost identical. Now it doesn't have to be spot on, you know, because you do have the packing sections at the bottom. I don't know what the name of them are, the bits that pack this in, and they're, you know, 5 to 10 mil thick, so they will hide any small mistakes you make. But as you can see from that, that's the second way of telling the angle that you need to take on the bottom rail, on the head rail, which will match your stringing line, your pitch line. Okay, coming out to the garden. Well, obviously I've still got to get my washing machine picked up by the council. They don't do things quickly. This is my makeshift dust collector, sawdust collector, into my green bin, which goes to the recycling centre for garden rubbish. Best place for sawdust. So let's go and saw these ends off, shall we? I'm just using a little tenon saw here, just to keep the rip out to the minimum. Love that smell of freshly cut pine. And the beauty about using a little tenon saw rather than a rip saw is, look at that, look at the edge it's left, and I didn't even slow down for the end. It just doesn't rip the edge out. A little bit slower, but what does it matter, you know? This is a home workshop project. I'm not on a price on a building site somewhere. I'm here on a Sunday evening, enjoying myself. Let's get this back here a bit. I'll slow this one down just a little bit to minimise the breakout at the back. And look at that, that's the cut edge, that's the top edge, almost zero, hardly any breakout there whatsoever. You know, that's the beauty about using a tenon saw rather than a rip saw or anything too aggressive. You can see the teeth are going a little bit. It's not sharp as it was by the fact that we're getting a little bit of burn out there, but nothing major. Still does the job remarkably well. Now if we take our cut spindle and try to stick it in this hole here, we have a little bit of a problem, because although we can get this to fit in the bottom nicely, let me just take the camera off. You can get it in position, but if you look, we've got one of these packing pieces. Now I should know the name of this, but I don't. So we have to take out this now and remove this packing piece before we can get the spindle in, and then re-put the packing piece back in. Now we can get these bits out. Try and use a oops, that's not going to get it. You can use this to get the nail out. Use the old Wonder Bar, see if this works. Prying it out. Yep, wonderful. Now this will slot in there. Now if I've done my calculations correctly, let's just get this screw out now out here. If I've measured correctly, it should fit in no problem. Let's just get this out. Okay, well, it's a little bit tight here, there's a little bit of a gap, so I don't know if this can't go down. Is there a nail left at the bottom? No, so this may be just a touch too tight. So I'll chop a couple of mil off that and I'll come back. Okay, so we'll put this back in the bottom, and see what I did before is I took my cut on the pencil lines rather than inside the pencil lines, just to give myself a little bit of playroom. and it, well, yeah, it was too tight. So this time I took it the cut where I should have taken it inside the pencil line, and that comes back nicely now. Put this one back up here, and you can see fits in nicely. It's flush there. I'll stick a pin through this to keep it in position. I'll stick a pin in here as well. I'll take this outside before I pin it, obviously. I will rub it down and I'll just give it a little coat of satin varnish to match what was there already. And I'll come back and show you the finished job. Alright, we've got the spindle back in position. I'm not going to nail it, I'm going to leave that freestanding because it's fairly tight. Once this wedge, whatever we call it, thing goes on it, we'll keep it tight. Oops. There's a side on a hammer to a premium for space. Uh-oh. I'll come back and get a... I'll drive that in later. But we don't need to see that now, do we? So, let's have a look. One fully repaired spindle. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. And I hope if you get a similar project or a similar breakage on your staircase, this video will help you and you'll be able to fix it easily. Please remember to tell your friends about the channel. If you want to give this, if you like the channel, give it a thumbs up. That always helps. Please remember to subscribe. It's only about 20% of people that watch the videos actually subscribe. And please tell your friends about me. See ya! Okay, let's drive a few pins through here. Probably easier to do this without a pin in the spindle. Just put one in here. This will hold it in position. It's not loose, it's very tight. So why not just drive one in there? Maybe two. Hard to drive nails in, you'll try not to get your head in the way of the camera. Like that. I suspect I was really in the way of the camera just then. Even out of messing around with a silly little pin hammer. Bollocks!